Nothing in life can defeat you if you understand the invisible rules that actually govern power. Most people don't get crushed by random misfortune or backstabbing enemies. They get crushed because they never learned how influence truly operates beneath the surface of what everyone pretends is real. In this video, I'll reveal Machiavelli's dark power lessons that expose how the game is really played so you can move through life with cold precision and unshakable strength. Now, imagine this. An intelligent, dedicated person watches opportunity after opportunity slip through their fingers. They play fair, work twice as hard as everyone else, and never bend the rules. Yet somehow, people with half their talent keep winning positions they've earned. Late at night, staring at the ceiling, they ask themselves, why does nothing ever work out for me? Here's the truth. They're blind to the game everyone else is playing. While they focus on doing what's right, others focus on doing what works. By the end of this video, you'll understand the hidden mechanics that separate those who wait for justice from those who create outcomes. You'll see why certain people quietly accumulate power while good people stay confused and stuck. And you'll learn the cold, honest principles that have kept Machiavelli's teachings dangerously relevant for over 500 years. Before we start, type this in the comments to lock it in. I see the game and I play to win. Most people never access real power, not because they lack intelligence or ambition, but because they're trapped inside a beautiful fantasy that the world operates on fairness, merit, and eventual justice for those who keep their heads down and do good work. From the moment we're conscious, we're fed the same comforting story. If we follow the rules, stay loyal, and remain humble, life will eventually recognize our worth. That hard work automatically translates to success. That patience is always rewarded. That goodness is its own armor. But look at the evidence around you. The ones who wait politely for their turn, who never make waves, who trust that their effort will speak for itself. Where are they now? In the exact same position they were in 5 years ago. Still waiting for someone to notice their sacrifice. Still confused about why loyalty didn't protect them. Still believing the game will suddenly become fair just because they played by rules nobody else follows. Machiavelli saw what most people are too frightened to acknowledge. The world doesn't reward predictability or passive goodness. It rewards those who understand the structure of power and navigate it with clear eyes and deliberate action. When you're completely transparent, people know exactly how to use you, avoid you, and replace you. When your behavior is governed by what others expect, you become a tool in someone else's strategy, not the architect of your own. This is why raw effort without strategic awareness leads to nothing but exhaustion and bitterness. The system isn't corrupt. It simply isn't based on the fairy tale you were taught to believe. It's built on human psychology, on fear and desire, self-preservation and ambition, perception and timing. Intelligent people study these forces and position themselves where power flows. The naive hope that decency will be noticed. The strategic act while others are still deciding whether conditions are perfect. They take what the hesitant only fantasize about. Machiavelli's lessons aren't about becoming evil. They're about becoming conscious. He demonstrated that if you expect the world to hand you power simply because you've been patient and good, you will remain powerless and perpetually disappointed. Your employer doesn't owe you promotion. Your allies don't owe you gratitude. The universe doesn't owe you fairness. The moment you accept that you are owed nothing, you stop waiting for permission and start taking what you've earned. That's when nothing can defeat you because you finally see the game you've been playing blind. Number 1. Master the art of timing. Most people fail not because their ideas are weak, but because they move at the wrong moment. They speak up when the room isn't ready to hear them. They push for change when resistance is at its peak. They reveal their intentions before the ground has been prepared. Machiavelli understood that power isn't just about what you do. It's about when you do it. The same action that destroys you in January can make you untouchable in March. The proposal that gets rejected on Monday becomes obvious genius on Friday. Everything depends on timing. Your colleague launches a project when leadership is distracted and it dies from neglect. You wait 3 weeks, launch the same quality work when attention is focused, and suddenly you're the visionary. The difference wasn't the work. It was reading at the moment. This isn't manipulation. It's awareness. When you understand that even brilliant moves fail in hostile conditions, you stop forcing and start positioning. Machiavelli observed that the one who waits for perfect conditions never acts, but the one who ignores conditions gets destroyed. Smart power lives in between. You prepare thoroughly, then strike when the environment shifts in your favor. Watch the people around you. Who keeps pushing against closed doors until they're exhausted? Who waits forever and misses every opening? Who seems to move at exactly the right moments, as if they can see something others can't? The naive rush in whenever they feel ready and wonder why they keep hitting walls. The overthinking wait for perfect certainty that never arrives and watches others take what they wanted. Powerful people develop timing sense. They feel when resistance is high and when it drops. They know when to push hard and when to be invisible. They strike when others are still debating. When you master timing, average moves become legendary. Small efforts create massive results. You stop exhausting yourself against bad moments and start riding the natural momentum of good ones. You become impossible to defeat because you're no longer fighting the current. Drop this affirmation in the comments: I move when the moment is right, not when I'm comfortable. Number 2, never reveal your full strength. In the world of power, the moment people know your complete capacity is the moment they can prepare against it. Most people make themselves weak by showing everything they've got the first chance they get, desperate to prove they're capable, valuable, impressive. Machiavelli knew that everyone sees what you appear to be, but very few know what you truly possess. And that gap between perception and reality is where your leverage lives. Your coworker brags about every skill, every connection, every backup plan they have. Now everyone knows exactly what they're working with. Nothing surprises anyone. Their ceiling is visible. You, however, show competence but not mastery. You deliver results but always hold something back. People assume you have more in reserve. This isn't about being fake. It's about being strategic. When people don't know your limits, they treat you more carefully. When they don't know your full network, they can't block all your moves. When they don't know what you're truly capable of, they can't prepare the perfect counter. Machiavelli warned that showing all your cards invites others to play specifically against your hand. If you reveal every strength, you give away every weakness by inverse. If they know everything you can do, they know everything you can't. Watch how the powerful operate. The leader who never reveals their actual budget. The negotiator who never shows their real deadline. The player who always seems to have one more option nobody saw coming. They're not lucky. They're disciplined about what they display. The naive broadcast everything, seeking validation and respect, then wonder why they're always outmaneuvered. The paranoid hide everything and become isolated because nobody trusts total opacity. Powerful people reveal themselves strategically. They show enough to build credibility but always keep capacity in reserve. They demonstrate value without exposing their full range. They let others underestimate them just enough to create room for devastating surprise. When you hold strength back, you can deploy it when others think you're finished. You can pivot when they think they've cornered you. You can produce solutions when they thought you were out of options. That unpredictability is armor. The person who always has something left becomes impossible to fully defeat because nobody knows when they're actually done. Drop this affirmation in the comments: I reveal strategically, never completely. Number 3, use adversaries as teachers. Most people treat opposition as a pure obstacle, something to avoid, resent, or destroy. They take criticism personally. They see competitors as enemies. They view every challenge as proof the world is against them. Machiavelli understood something colder and smarter. Your adversaries reveal more about your weaknesses than your friends ever will. When someone opposes you, they're showing you exactly where your strategy has gaps. When someone criticizes your work, they're pointing to the part you didn't strengthen enough. When a competitor beats you, they're demonstrating what you haven't learned yet. Your manager questions your proposal in front of the team. Most people feel attacked and get defensive. You, however, listen to what they're actually saying beneath the tone. They just told you which part of your argument isn't landing. They handed you the exact information you need to make it bulletproof next time. This isn't about being passive. It's about being ruthlessly efficient with information. When you realize that everyone who opposes you is accidentally teaching you something, you stop wasting energy on resentment and start extracting lessons. Machiavelli observed that wise people learn more from their enemies than fools learn from their friends. Your allies will tell you what you want to hear. Your adversaries will expose what you need to fix. Notice the patterns. Who keeps blocking your path? They're showing you which route you haven't secured yet. Who keeps winning in your space? They're demonstrating which skills you're still missing. Who keeps poking at your weak points? They're telling you exactly where to build your next layer of armor. The naive take every opposition personally and burn energy on anger and revenge fantasies. The bitter see enemies everywhere and become paranoid, unable to distinguish real threat from noise. Powerful people stay emotionally detached from opposition while being intellectually obsessed with it. They study every move against them. They extract patterns. They turn every attack into intelligence about their own vulnerabilities. When you use adversaries as free consultants on your weaknesses, you stop seeing opposition as unfair and start seeing it as useful. Every challenge becomes data. Every critic becomes a diagnostic tool. Every competitor becomes your unpaid research team showing you what works. You become impossible to keep down because everyone trying to defeat you is actually making you stronger. Drop this affirmation in the comments: my adversaries sharpen me whether they know it or not. Number 4. Build systems, not dependencies. In the architecture of power, most people sabotage themselves by building their entire position on relationships, personal connections, or the goodwill of specific individuals. They invest everything in being liked, being loyal, being indispensable to certain people. Machiavelli saw the trap clearly. When your power depends entirely on other people's favor, your power can vanish the moment their priorities shift. Your colleague spends years becoming the favorite of one executive. They're confident, protected. Then that executive leaves the company and suddenly they're nobody, starting from zero. You, however, spent those same years building skills, systems, and a track record that works regardless of who's in charge. When leadership changes, your value remains intact. This isn't about being cold to people. It's about understanding that relational power without structural power is fragile. When you're only valuable because someone likes you, your position evaporates when their mood changes or they move on. Machiavelli taught that those who depend entirely on fortune get destroyed when fortune shifts. But those who build on their own capability can survive any change in conditions. Look at the difference around you. Who panics when their main supporter leaves? Who collapses when a key relationship turns cold? Who becomes powerless the moment they're not someone's favorite anymore? The naive invest everything in being liked, building dependency instead of autonomy, then wonder why they're so easily discarded. The cynical trust no one and isolate themselves, refusing to build any bridges, leaving themselves alone and resource poor. Powerful people build both. They create strong relationships but never let those relationships become their only source of value. They develop skills that transcend any single connection. They build systems, processes, and track records that speak for themselves regardless of who's watching. When you base your power on what you can do, not just who likes you, you become transferable. Valuable in multiple contexts. Immune to the political winds that destroy everyone else. You stop living in fear of falling out of favor because your competence is your foundation. You stop needing any single person's approval to maintain your position. That independence is quiet power. The person who doesn't need to be anyone's favorite becomes impossible to control through social pressure and impossible to erase when relationships shift. Drop this affirmation in the comments: my power is built on systems I control, not people who might leave. Number 5. Control the narrative. Power isn't just about what actually happens. It's about what people believe happened. Most people focus entirely on doing good work and assume the work will speak for itself. But Machiavelli understood that perception shapes reality more than reality shapes perception. When you don't control how your actions are interpreted, someone else will interpret them for you. And they won't be generous. You complete a difficult project successfully. You say nothing, assuming everyone sees the quality. Your coworker, who contributed far less, sends a detailed email highlighting our team's achievement and CCS leadership. 3 months later, who gets remembered as the driving force? This isn't about lying. It's about understanding that silence in the realm of perception is suicide. When you do something valuable and fail to frame it, others will frame it in ways that serve them, not you. Machiavelli knew that the one who defines the story controls how power flows from it. If you let others narrate your victories, they'll minimize them. If you let others narrate your setbacks, they'll amplify them. The story matters as much as the substance. Watch the powerful players around you. The leader who frames every challenge as an opportunity they saw coming. The executive who shapes how their decisions are discussed before anyone else defines them. The colleague who controls the narrative about their contributions without seeming boastful. They're not lucky. They're deliberate about meaning. The naive do great work and stay silent, shocked when others take credit or their efforts go unnoticed. The obnoxious overcommunicate and brag constantly, making everyone resentful and tuned out. Powerful people communicate strategically. They document wins. They frame their actions before others can. They shape interpretation without being obvious about it. They make sure the right people understand the right story at the right time. When you control the narrative around your work, your failures become learning experiences and your wins become proof of vision. You stop being a victim of other people's interpretations and become the author of your own reputation. That narrative control makes you very hard to diminish because even when things go wrong, you've already framed it in a way that protects or even enhances your position. Drop this affirmation in the comments: I shape the story before the story shapes me. Number 6. Make fear and love your tools. In the mechanics of influence, Machiavelli's most famous insight remains misunderstood. He didn't say be cruel and hated. He said understand that fear and love are both tools, and knowing when to use each one is what separates those who command respect from those who get used or overthrown. Most people lean entirely into one strategy. They try to be loved by everyone, becoming permissive and boundary-free until nobody respects them. Or they try to rule through intimidation alone, becoming isolated tyrants everyone secretly works against. Machiavelli observed that love without fear becomes contempt, and fear without fairness becomes rebellion. The dark power move is calibration. Your coworker never says no, always available, always accommodating. People love how nice they are. They also dump work on them constantly, miss deadlines without consequence, and never take them seriously. Another coworker is harsh, demanding, and inflexible. People fear disappointing them but also resent them and quietly sabotage when possible. You, however, are warm and supportive until a line is crossed. Then you're immovable. People feel safe with you but never careless. This isn't about manipulation. It's about understanding human psychology. People need to feel you care about them, but they also need to know you have boundaries they cannot violate without cost. Machiavelli taught that being loved is beautiful, but being feared protects you when love is tested. Being feared is powerful, but being respected makes that fear stable instead of explosive. Look at who actually has influence around you. The parent whose kids feel loved but would never disrespect. The boss people want to impress, not just avoid. The friend everyone values because they're kind but nobody takes advantage of them because they're clearly not soft. The desperate to be liked sacrifice all boundaries for approval and get walked over while being secretly disrespected. The tyrant rules through pure intimidation and gets betrayed the moment they show weakness. Powerful people blend warmth with firmness. They're approachable but not pushable. Supportive but not exploitable. Fair but not forgiving of repeated violations. When you master this balance, people want your approval and fear your disapproval in equal measure. That combination creates respect, which is more durable than either love or fear alone. You become someone people naturally treat with care because they know you're neither desperate for their affection nor dependent on their fear. Drop this affirmation in the comments: I am loved for my fairness and feared for my boundaries. Number 7. Turn weakness into strategy. Most people spend enormous energy trying to hide their limitations, terrified that any visible weakness will be used against them. They pretend to know things they don't. They fake confidence in areas where they're uncertain. They project strength they don't possess. Machiavelli understood something more sophisticated. Strategic vulnerability can be more powerful than false invincibility. When you pretend to have no weaknesses, people become obsessed with finding them. When you acknowledge certain limitations openly, you control which weaknesses they see and you disarm the very attacks they were preparing. Your competitor tries to expose that you lack experience in one specific area. You've already publicly acknowledged it and explained how you've compensated with a team of specialists. Their attack lands nowhere because you've already framed that limitation as strategic resource allocation, not incompetence. This isn't about advertising every flaw. It's about understanding that selectively revealing certain weaknesses on your terms prevents others from weaponizing them on theirs. Machiavelli observed that appearing to need help in certain areas makes others lower their guard around you. They feel superior, helpful, less threatened. Meanwhile, you're learning everything you need from them while they're busy feeling confident they have you figured out. Watch how this plays out. Who gets attacked most viciously? Usually the person who projects total perfection, making everyone want to find the crack. Who gets underestimated then suddenly wins? Often the person who seemed weaker than they were, letting others grow comfortable and careless. The insecure hide everything, terrified of judgment, making themselves rigid and easy to break when pressure finds the hidden cracks. The foolish reveal everything, making themselves obvious targets with no mystery or defense. Powerful people reveal themselves strategically. They acknowledge limitations that don't actually threaten their core position. They show vulnerability in ways that make others feel safe while keeping their real weaknesses completely protected. They let people feel superior in areas that don't matter while quietly dominating the areas that do. When you turn apparent weakness into strategy, you control what people think they know about you. You guide their attacks toward defended positions while leaving your real vulnerabilities invisible. That misdirection makes you extraordinarily difficult to defeat because even when people target your weaknesses, they're targeting the ones you wanted them to see. Drop this affirmation in the comments: I choose what weakness to show and what strength to hide. Number 8. Create your own rules. In the final dark power lesson, Machiavelli reveals that those who follow conventional rules in unconventional times get destroyed by those who understand something deeper. Rules aren't natural laws. They're agreements. And agreements can be renegotiated by those with the vision and courage to do so. Most people treat every rule as sacred and permanent, never asking whether the rule serves them or simply controls them. They play within boundaries others drew, competing for scraps inside a game someone else designed for someone else's benefit. Machiavelli saw that the powerful don't just play the game masterfully. They question whether the game itself still makes sense. Your industry operates on assumptions everyone accepts without examination. This is how it's always been done. You have to follow these steps. These are the requirements. You notice the assumptions aren't laws of nature, just habits. So you create a different model. Others call it risky or arrogant. 5 years later, they're copying what you built while you've already moved ahead. This isn't about breaking rules recklessly. It's about recognizing which rules are actual constraints and which are just inherited beliefs nobody has questioned in decades. Machiavelli taught that in times of change, those who cling to old methods get swept away, while those who adapt and innovate determine the new order. Waiting for permission to change the rules guarantees you'll stay playing by rules that weren't made for your success. Look at who actually reshapes their field. The entrepreneur who ignored how things are done and built something nobody said was possible. The artist who rejected traditional paths and created their own category. The leader who stopped following the organizational playbook and designed new systems that actually worked. The timid follow every rule perfectly and stay trapped in games rigged against them, confused why they're losing. The reckless break all rules and destroy themselves with chaos and backlash. Powerful people study which rules are load-bearing and which are decorative. They respect true constraints while ignoring inherited limitations. They follow rules that serve their goals and diplomatically work around rules that don't. They build new frameworks when old ones no longer function. When you give yourself permission to create your own rules, you stop competing in overcrowded games and start building games where you have natural advantages. You stop waiting for the system to reward you and start designing systems that work for you. That rule-making authority makes you nearly impossible to defeat because you're no longer playing anyone else's game. Drop this affirmation in the comments: I respect wisdom but create my own path. Now you know Machiavelli's dark power lessons. How timing determines whether your moves succeed or fail. How revealing your full strength gives others your blueprint for defeat. How adversaries accidentally teach you what friends won't. How building systems protects you when relationships change. How controlling the narrative protects your reputation as much as the work itself. How blending fear and love creates respect stronger than either alone. How strategic vulnerability disarms attacks before they land. And how creating your own rules frees you from games you were never meant to win. But none of this matters if it just stays as fascinating concepts you nod along to and forget. The question isn't whether these principles work. They've shaped kingdoms, built empires, and protected the powerful for 5 centuries. The question is whether you'll stay naive and confused, or become conscious and strategic. Will you keep moving at the wrong moments or finally develop timing that makes average efforts legendary? Will you keep showing everyone everything you've got or start revealing strategically so you always have capacity in reserve? Will you keep taking criticism personally or start mining every opposition for intelligence about your own weaknesses? Will you keep building your power on relationships that can vanish or create systems that persist regardless of who stays or leaves? Will you keep staying silent about your wins or learn to shape the narrative before others shape it for you? Will you keep trying to be only loved or only feared, or master the calibration that creates lasting respect? Will you keep hiding all weakness or use strategic vulnerability to control what others think they know about you? And will you keep following rules that were never designed for your success? Or finally give yourself permission to create new rules that actually serve your goals? Nothing can defeat you once you see the game clearly and decide to play with open eyes instead of wishful thinking. If this opens your mind to how power actually operates, hit the like button. Subscribe for more content on dark psychology and strategic influence. And share this video with someone who needs to wake up from the fantasy of fairness. Your transformation doesn't start when you understand these lessons. It starts when you live with them. Drop this final affirmation in the comments: I see the game, I know the rules, and I play to win.